Hello, this is Harmeet Sehdev, and welcome to yet another very interesting webinar. This is the second episode of our online trial classes, Sunstone trial classes, where we talk about how important it is to have a practical exposure more than the theoretical one. Today we have Mohit Vatal with us. Hi, Mohit.
Hi, Harmeet. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. I'm so excited for this class today, to be very honest. And it's very important for us to tell our students that how important it is to have industry experience. Mohit Vatal here with us is the Vice President, Sunstone University. And the topic for today is how to manage your leads. But just a quick thing before we get started, if you have any questions during the live trial class, please type them into the chat box of YouTube and I'll bring them up during the presentation. And after the presentation and after the trial class is over, we will address your questions. And talking about the topic, how to manage your leads. Mohit, I am a mass comm student, and if I have to understand this, that what are leads? Starting absolutely from the scratch, before we move on to the topic, can you just tell us that what exactly are these leads?
So, Harmeet, for anybody to sell a product, for a product to be sold in the market, there has to be a buyer. Buyer
Right.
is a very matured stage when I'm ready to pay money out of my pocket to buy something and get it to my house or into my pocket. This maturity starts from a phase, and the most critical phase is that when I've just thought about buying something. When I've just thought about buying something, that is when I am a lead and I reach out to multiple, vendors who have that thing available that I'm trying to buy or I'm keen or interested in buying. So that's where the journey starts of me as a buyer and for the organization who is giving that product or the service as, sellers. So I think that is what we are going to talk about today as well.
राइट सो अगर मैं एज अ पर्सन जिसको मुझे कुछ सामान खरीदना है वो प्रोसेस जब शुरू हो जाता है तो कहीं ना कहीं लीड्स कम इनटू द प्लेस दिस इज व्हाट आई हैव
Yeah.
अंडरस्टूड एम आई
Yeah.
राइट ओके
Yeah, sort of right. So like you're wearing this headphone. ये फोन के साथ मिला होगा या आपने अलग आते बाय किया होगा मार्केट से, right? Now
राइट
there
राइट
was a need or a desire to buy a particular headphone. Initially to buy a headphone. Then you would have, seen your options, what are the options, what are my preferences, and then you would have boiled down to one. That whole journey is what we are going to discuss today. And you, when you had interest or when you signed up on a particular website, that's when you were a lead for that organization, right?
ओके
So that is where we are going to start from.
So just before we begin, just continuing this example, Mohit, I just want to understand this one particular thing. मैंने जब decide किया कि मुझे headphones चाहिए, तब मैंने online 10 जगहों से check किया, right? अब 10 जगहों से जब मैंने check किया, मुझे 2 पसंद आए, but मैंने कुछ खरीदा नहीं, but बार-बार उसकी ad मुझे दिखाई दी. Is this a part of the entire process? I just want to understand.
Yeah, this is a part of the entire process, and this is all modern recommendation engines are doing, and this is what is happening to you on Amazons and the Flipkarts of the world.
Lovely. I think
But
we
we
are
are going
good
to
to go.
get to
And
it as in how these systems are
yes,
built.
yes, I am really very excited. I think over to you, Mohit. Please, help us understand this particular thing. And I just want to tell my audience, this is a Sunstone trial class. This is the second episode for it. Last week also we did a very interesting webinar on marketing with Abhishek sir. Today we have Mohit sir with us, who is not a professor, but he's an industry expert who is here with us to explain you how lead generation and everything works. Over to you, Mohit, if you can please present your screen. Yeah.
Thank you, Harmeet. Pleasure being here, and I'm going to share my screen now. Affirmative, can you see my screen?
Yes, your screen is visible.
Wonderful. So we've got some slides that I've put together wherein we can, sort of explain how the whole lead bubble works. So I think
Wonderful.
first things first, let's try to understand what is a lead. How does a lead come into the picture, or where does a buyer or a seller meet? That first, connect between a buyer and a seller is when, as I was discussing with you, when I thought of buying a headphone. So I went online and, tried to do some research about my preferences, about my budget. There could be multiple things. So I could be an individual or an enterprise who is looking out for a product or a service. As a seller, if I'm looking for a product or a service, I'm your that you are offering, I'm your target audience, right? So a lead, first thing first, is an individual or an enterprise who comes out of the target audience for a particular seller or a company. Second thing that is very, very relevant and important for anybody to be specified as or labeled as a lead is that every lead has a contact detail. There is an identity associated with a lead. Mostly for business purposes, identity, of course, name. I don't need your Aadhaar number to give you a phone call and to pitch you my product. But what I need definitely is a name and your phone number or your email address, right? So that I can start the communication with you. And third thing, in so lead definitions are different across organizations. But if you look at the first bullets here, individual or enterprise from the target audience has contact details, which means name and a phone number or an email address. I think these are the mandatory fields for any data to qualify as a lead. Basis business requirements, there are also times when we run marketing campaigns, right? We run paid campaigns, we go to Google, we do a share, search ad, we do a Facebook ad. Somebody who clicks on that ad, so for example, I'm looking for an MBA program, I'll go and search on Google, there's a keyword, I'll search best MBA program in 2021. I'm going to see an ad running from Sunstone University, and we're taking an example here. I'm going to click on that ad and I'm going to land on a website, a web page, which generally is called a landing page. And I'm going to sign up, leave my number. So basically, I was looking for it. There is an interest in me for doing MBA this year. That is why perhaps I search for it, right? So demonstrated intent in the product or the service. This is how we define a lead. So somebody who comes out of your target audience. So if I am a business, anybody who comes out from the target audience where I'm catering my services into. Second, who there is a contact detail, there is an identity, there is a phone number, and then there is some interest that the person has shown in my product or my service. That is how we define a lead. Now, typically, as we move on, if you look at multiple organizations, multiple products, multiple services, there is there is a desire, there is a need, and this need varies from person to person, right? B2B, there is a lead life cycle. Now, I'm going to take particular amount of time to buy a product. If I have started looking out for a headphone or a mobile phone, for that matter, I'm going to take a few days. Now there are multiple ways I can go about it. I just my phone slipped off, I broke a phone, so there's an urgent need of a phone. I'm going to go to the market, see very, very quickly. I'm going to expedite my process, my search process, going to talk to my friends. I'm going to see what is the, best mobile that suits my budget and my interest. I'm going to go and buy that phone. But what if I just want to switch over to a new phone. My phone is working absolutely okay, but it's just that there is a desire of buying a new phone. What am I going to do? I'm going to take more time to buy that product. So the urgency and so the desire could be same. Both the people that we have just spoken about wanted a new phone, but the urgency is different. One buys that phone in a day, the other might take a month to boil down on a particular option. So there is a lead life cycle, there is a set of milestones that I'm going to achieve before I buy a product. Let's take example of somebody who's buying a car. Now, if I am a seller, if I am a car manufacturer, I have to sell this car, and you are a lead, you come to my showroom for a test drive. This is a very, 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 very important milestone in the journey. Why? Because I get to spend 45 minutes with you while you drive that car. I got to spend that time with you inside that car explaining about that car, right? If you call somebody, it's very, very difficult to find those 45 minutes on phone. or be able to explain everything that you could explain face to face. So taking a test drive is a very, very important milestone in the lead life cycle of a lead who is looking to buy a car. So as a seller, I'm definitely going to take a note, and I'm going to give critical, marks and probabilities of conversion to somebody who's taken a test drive. Similarly, when you go and you choose a college, for example, now I want to do an MBA or engineering. The first thing that I want to do is that I'm going to inquire about the regions that I'm interested in, the kind of rank that I have, what are the colleges that are going to come in. But there's a very, very important milestone. I go and visit a college. If I go and visit a campus, that means for that campus that I'm really, really keen into the campus, because that is why I've taken out time, I've taken a couple of hours, and that's why I've walked into the campus to see how the campus life is. These are very critical milestones. As an organization, if you are making 1,000 leads or 5,000 leads or 10,000 leads, step back, understand what is my product and what are those critical milestones that a person or a lead needs to achieve consistently to be able to buy my product. What are those critical points where I'm going to identify and differentiate between two leads and be able to tell which is a hotter lead, right? Lead lifecycle is very dynamic. As I just mentioned, if I'm selling a car, there's going to be a different lead lifecycle. If I'm selling a pen, somebody will go to a stationery store because the cost associated is very less. I'm going to buy a pen. I don't think that much, but I'll think a lot before buying a car. So I don't need a very, very big showroom. I don't need a sort of a receptionist and a great sales guy to sell a pen, but I need that for selling a car. So lead life cycle is very, very important because this tells you eventually what are those critical milestones that somebody is going to achieve, so that you can segregate between the leads. As an organization, you make thousands of leads, you run multiple campaigns. You must know what is that stage after which you could be confident about that person. If I go and visit a campus, I, as a campus, know that you are really interested in my campus. You might visit five more, but the probability here of you choosing me is zero point 0.2 because you visited five campus, and of course you only visit a campus when you're interested in. So I think setting up, understanding your lead life cycle is very, very important. And equally important is that you set it up on a CRM and you are not doing the Excel or the A4 sheet game. Lot of organizations are still running or making leads and then calling those leads or trying to reach out to those leads, and they do all of that in an Excel sheet, or they do that on a piece of paper. This, I mean, things have moved on from that. You need to set up a CRM, because CRM is something that is going to get automation into place, become smart day on day, understanding what kind of scale you want to achieve and what kind of user behavior you have. It's going to give you a lot of inputs. uh, so setting up the CRM, I think, is the most basic thing as an organization you should do if you really want to manage your leads well, because Excel can do a hell lot of things, but there are a lot of things that an Excel cannot achieve. So talking about lead lifecycle, let's take an example. Now there are typically there are two business environments. One is that you've got a enterprise business environment and you've got a B2C business environment. So to take examples, if I'm selling a car, I'm selling that car directly to the consumer who's going to use that car. But if I'm selling an ERP system for a school, or a school management software, or a library management software, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to sell this to a school, and eventually parents and children are going to use it. Also, the school teachers are going to use it. So, for an enterprise business, typically the lead life cycle is standard. Let's take an example. There's a very, very old and very known methodology called Spanco. So a typical life cycle for me selling an ERP would be that I will identify a suspect who could be interested in buying the product, or where synergies are mapping. From that stage, I will move them to prospect if I'm able to reach out to them. From prospect, I'll start a conversation with them. I'll change them to approach, that I'm approaching them, having discussions with them, perhaps giving them a demo. After giving them a demo, I would like to negotiate on my pricings, the price that I've quote and the kind of services that I'm, quoting to them. From negotiation, I'm going to close out on the deal. I'm going to get a closure, so purchase order from that organization, and this that is where I will close that deal. Typically, a B2B environment where I'm selling products or services to organizations are not very dynamic and are slower. The lead life cycle may not be really complex, but it is very time consuming. It takes a lot of time to go to a school and sell them a ERP software, because they're already using one. You need to tell them first, you need to tell them that there is a need, you need to invoke that desire, you need to tell them that your software is more modern, you need to tell them how your software solves many of their problems that their current software is not solving. So takes a lot of time, takes multiple meetings, and you need to go there, give a lot of demos, and the school definitely is in no rush, right? So it is time consuming. So typically, if you are an organization that sells products or services to organizations, you could follow Spanco to manage your leads. But it is different in case of B2C. So if I am somebody who sells products directly to the consumer, if I'm somebody who sells a car, if I'm somebody who sells an MBA program, if I'm somebody who sells a short-term Java program or an ITIL certification program, I am directly speaking to the consumer, the person who's going to take that program. So it is direct to consumer. There are multiple communications involved, and the frequency of these communications is very, 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 very short, right? Because I'm going to give you a call today, you're going to ask me to call you later because you are in the middle of a meeting, because we have not met. Phone, email, chat is the only way I've got to reach out to you. I'm sitting somewhere in Gurgaon or in Noida, you're sitting somewhere in probably Russia or UP or Maharashtra, and I'm trying to sell you an online program, or I'm trying to sell you a car while my showroom is in Delhi and you live in another part of Delhi. So what happens is that communication majorly happens over phone, email, and chats. You don't meet a lot. So that is why you need to make multiple communications, and the frequency is higher. Behavior is absolutely dynamic, because me buying a car, we took an example, me buying a phone where my phone screen is broken, I don't have a phone in my hand, compared to somebody who's buying a new phone where the current phone is working fine, I just need to change. These two are completely two different scenarios for me to buy. Plus, every individual is different. My buying habits are going to be different than your buying habits. I, as an organization, need to understand that this is my target audience and these are the general buying behaviors. You could only do this if you have a set, if you have a CRM. You could only do this if you have a set process. You could only do this if you speak to the people and record what is happening. You take notes, you come back and tell your system that Mohit behaved in a certain way and XYZ behaved differently. I will take 1 month to buy that phone compared to somebody who's going to take 2 days to buy that phone. These are two different behaviors. So the buying behavior is going to be dynamic. And there are a lot of cases where you need to establish the desire. There are times when I don't need a product. I'm buying a shoe on Amazon. I don't need a socks. I was not looking for a pair of socks. But Amazon comes up with a recommendation and tells you, these are the most frequently bought socks with that pair of shoes. So does Flipkart. So does all the e-commerce players. How do they do that? Because they are tracking consumer behavior. They know that socks is something that pairs up with a shoe like really well. And if I'm buying a shoe worth 5,000 rupees, I would not mind buying a pair of socks worth like 200 rupees. So they give you a recommendation. They invoke that desire of buying a new pair of socks, and you end up buying that. in most of the cases. So to establish the desire, to understand the need of the consumer, B2C, the duration is much shorter compared to B2B, but the kind of communication that happens, the frequency of communication, the user behavior is really dynamic. So it's a very, very complex system. I might take 1 month to buy a car, but during this 1 month, I'm going to go and take 5 test drives. So if you are test drive one, you need to ensure that for the next 4 test drives, you are constantly in touch with me. And you need to ensure that I'm highly impressed even after looking at 4 cars that I've seen after looking at your or test driven your car. It's a very complex mechanism. It's a very complex thing to do and to achieve. A typical B2C life cycle looks like this. So there is a lead. It might, and these are different for different organizations, as I mentioned earlier. So let's take example of an MBA program, right? I am a lead who wants to do an MBA. I sign up on sunstoneuniversity.edu.in. Now, what does Sunstone want to see in that? Sunstone really wants to see that, I as a product, as a service, give MBA, right? So for somebody to do an MBA, there is a qualification criteria. Sunstone has a qualification criteria. You need to have 50% marks in your graduation. If you do not have 50% marks in your graduation, you are not qualified enough. Of course, I need to, a lot of people that come to the website, they don't have 50% in their graduation as their score. So I need to identify that how many leads, that from the leads that I've made are qualified leads. Another qualification criteria is that, yeah, if you want to do MBA in 2021-23 batch, your graduation must finish by June 2021. Only then you're going to start your classes, full-time program classes in July 2021. Unless you're a graduate, you can't do that. So anybody who comes to the Sunstone website, fills up the form, leaves their number, is a lead. But if they do not have 50% in graduation, it is not a qualified lead. It is just a lead. I might want to, reach out to them next year when they are getting their graduation. So it's a lead but not a qualified lead, compared to somebody who meets the qualification criteria. Somebody who meets the qualification criteria is somebody who's got 50% in graduation, is finishing up with his or her graduation in by June 2021, has a MATCAT ZAT score. Done, you are a qualified lead for me. Next, what? Now I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to try to sell you my product. I'm going to try to sell you my car. I'm going to tell you the features about my car, how it is better than competition. I'm going to tell you what are the USPs of my car. And I'm going to assess that how should I label you? Are you interested or are you not interested? Are you somebody which I feel can buy my product or my service? I'm going to label you in my CRM so that when I have to follow up next with you, I know, what kind of intent you demonstrated when you had, first spoken to me, right? So B2C typically has, you know, lead goes to qualified lead. Sometimes it goes to verifiable lead, OTP verified lead. From there, it will go to a cold, warm, hot kind of a situation. From there, it will go to somebody who has visited the campus slash taken a car demo. Uh, from there, I'll get a closure order and I'll have to do an onboarding. So there are multiple stages and statuses involved in any B2C sale. And these are very dynamic because the lead life cycle is very, the time of transition is very short. If I have decided to buy a phone, I'm going to buy it within a month. I'm not going to take 2 years to buy a phone. But if I have to take an ERP software or move my CRM system to another CRM system, I might, as an organization, take 2 years to do that. So this is how B2C and B2B environments are different, and this is how both of the businesses have really different lead life cycles. And this is why it is really, really important to understand what are those milestones that a person needs to go through or to achieve, a lead needs to achieve before they buy your product, so that you could track them properly, so that you could know out of the 1000 leads that I had made yesterday, who is where, who has taken the demo, because that is priority one for me. Who has visited the campus is priority one for me. People who have taken a test drive is priority one for me. Priority two for me is somebody who did not take my call yesterday, right? Or somebody who told me yesterday that, you should call me today, I'm busy, and give me a call tomorrow. This is how, as inside sales, in a B2C environment, I set up my, productivity hours. This is how I plan my day, right? So setting up the right lead life cycle is very, very important. We'll move on. Another thing that I really have seen over a period of time is important and mostly missed. People speak of customer retention, right? Of course, the objective there is, you want to retain the consumer and you want to sell more products, you want to upsell, you want to cross sell. If you've bought atta from me, I want to ensure that you buy the biscuits from me as well, right? But I think what a lot of organizations ignore is that when you make a lead, you've spent your marketing team, as a business, you've spent money, your marketing team has spent effort. They've made hell lot of creatives, they've made campaigns, they've done a BTL activity on ground, there is physical labor involved, there's a lot of operations involved, there's technology involved in making a lead these days, there's skill involved. You've invested all of it, and just because that person said no today, you just let go of that. You mark them not interested, or you give them a particular status and change their bucket. For me, I have seen great businesses being built from the leads that you had once made, and they come back to you and buy the product from you. The reason is that you nurtured them over a period of time. You did not lose hope on them. You kept a constant communication with them. You were able to tell them your achievements over a period of time. And when they got matured enough to take, or when the desired got matured enough, or the need became a necessity, and they went to the market to buy that product, they remembered the brand that you had built in their brain by nurturing. So we typically, in sales and marketing language, you called it nurturing. Now, if you look at sales and marketing, goes hand in hand. Marketing makes the lead, sales sort of consumes those leads and tries to sell the product. But they don't get along in most of the times, because for marketing the number of leads are never enough. But for sales, it is about quality. You've given me 1000 leads, and they don't want to buy the product. They don't want they you know They've already bought the same product from my competition, or perhaps they're not picking up the call. So it is more about how good enough the leads are. But as an organization, when you make leads, you need to ensure that whatever lead you've made, even if that lead is not responding today, even if that lead has said they're not interested today, even if that lead has said that I might take 1 year to decide, do not lose hope on them. Give them content. you know they might be interested tomorrow. They might want an MBA program tomorrow. They might want to buy the car tomorrow. They might want to buy the pen tomorrow. So what you need to do is that be in constant touch with the lead. And that's what we know as lead nurturing. So typically, how it helps is that, let's take a real life example. I wanted to buy a car. I went, took a test drive, and I changed my plan. I don't want to buy a car anymore. But my email IDs and my phone number is registered with the distributor or the dealer, the car dealer. What I'm going to do next is that, as a car dealer, I'm getting, as an end user who had taken a test drive, I'm getting constant SMSs. I'm getting great emails that this is what we have achieved, this is how this car solves your problem. Maybe a year later, I thought about the car. I may end up buying another model, but I may end up at the same showroom to buy another car, because that guy, that organization, that showroom was in constant touch with me. It was a pre-planned touch. It was a pre-planned life cycle of content that was supposed to come to me. But as an end user, I thought these guys reached out to me every week or perhaps every month. They would send me pictures of their new showroom. the guy would, send me a text, or how are you doing. So nurturing your leads is very, very important, because you never know. You've spent money, of course you spend money on that lead. Eventually it may be business for you tomorrow, and the next year you might need lesser number of leads, and your acquisition cost goes down eventually, right? So basically, if I am clicking an email today sent to me by Flipkart, uh, I go to a landing page Flipkart knows, or perhaps an commerce website, or a distributor, or a dealer, or an organization, or an institute knows that I was cold for all these days, but today I opened your email and clicked on apply now. So my status is reopen. I am alive as a lead again, so I should get a call from you. This is what lead nurturing does for you. So when next year I'm looking for the product that I did not buy last year, you could be in my mind, the as a brand, because you were in constant touch with me, uh, sharing success stories, testimonials, what are the product outcomes, what did you achieve over the last year, sharing it with your people, of course, not spamming your leads. I think that becomes the end of the road, both for your lead life cycle and also for your brand. But without spamming, having a particular lead life cycle is something that really works. And I think retaining the lead is very, very, very critical for me as a business owner, and also as a brand, right? Now, how could we nurture a lead? What are the ways of communication that I'm going to take, or what are the mediums of the communication that I'm going to take if I were to nurture a lead that had come into my system, right? So these days you've seen social engagement is pretty popular. We've got videos. We could make content that is relevant to the buyers or the product that the particular lead had shown interest in. I could do a chat engagement, I could do an email engagement, I could send them a video frequently, I could send them news articles. So these are the few ways that you could constantly be in touch, with your lead. Try to stay alive in their brain, in their mind, as a brand, so that when the need becomes a necessity, they know who you are. They will not spend time selecting the brand, because they trust you. You are somebody who is from the last 1 year or 6 months or 8 months, 3 quarters, 5 years, sending a communication to them, right? So so this is how retaining the lead is very, very critical, uh, when we speak about lead management. I think the next very, very important point, topic, is how do you track your productivity. Now, marketing engines these days are very, very efficient. We've got digital marketers, we've got BTL marketers who come back to you and give you 1,000 leads a day. You've got Facebook, you've got Google. You can make as many leads as you wish to in a day. There is no, I mean, you just have to spend money. But what happens after you make the lead? Were you able to consume that lead? As an organization, were you able to do justice to that lead? Right? In today's environment, when the supply of lead is sort of limitless, your demand and your capability of reaching out to that lead or consuming that lead is very, very critical. And there is only one way to know it: when you track your productivity. How productive am I as an organization, as a team? uh, and how aligned am I in terms of process, of not letting a lead go, not in terms of sales, not letting somebody go off without buying, but not letting a lead go without being able to reach out to that person, or without being able to spend enough time with that person to explain my product or my service. How is that going to solve their problem, right? So I think this is very, very critical. Now, to track what is the time. So we were talking about milestones. Every lead life cycle has got different milestones. What are those milestones? What is the time? What is the user behavior to sort of the user is taking to cross those milestones is very important to be tracked. am I able to allocate these leads immediately? So my marketing team gave me a lead which was generated from XYZ digital campaign at a CPL of 500 rupees. But I did not call that person for 2 days. What did I do? Not just I wasted 500 rupees, but I also wasted that opportunity of selling my product, which means loss of revenue. My product could be a crore rupee product, or it could be a 15 lakh rupees car. So there's an opportunity loss, which is, of course, revenue, right? So am I able to, sort of allocate my leads and call my leads right away, or perhaps in a 4 hour, 10-hour SLA? What are my agent wise conversion rates? I've got 15 people in my sales team. uh, how are they converting the milestones that a person has to go through to buy my product? Now there could be somebody who's not able to make people reach to their showroom to take a test drive, and there is somebody who gets 40% of the people to take a test drive and then eventually converts 50% out of them. If I am not able to pull people to come back to my showroom and do a test drive of the car that I have in the offering, I don't need help in selling. Somebody needs to help me and train me to make sure that people come to the showroom, because that's a milestone. After that, the desire and the need and the necessity becomes a little different. My probability of buying becomes different. So milestone, what is the conversion rate of my agents who are reaching out to the leads? What is my source wise performance? Very, very critical. Acquisition costs these days for most of the businesses are like skyrocketing because of competition and Facebooks of the world and the Googles of the world, right? So there is competition, there are ads running, you have to bid higher. Every digital lead, the cost over a period of last 5 years has increased exponentially. What happens if I'm investing in the wrong source? What if I make leads through a particular channel where the cost of that lead is 500 rupees a lead, but I only convert 1% of the leads, compared to another channel where the cost of the lead is 1500 rupees, but I'm able to convert 8% of the overall leads? What should I do? Where should I invest more of my money? Of course, I should invest in both the sources, but I know what is my source wire performance. And if I were to scale, where should I put in that money to get better ROI and eventually low acquisition cost, right? And then there are transition SLAs, there are follow up SLAs in every team that makes calls. So I think it's really important to keep track of your numbers, to know what is happening, how many leads did I make, how much of it was consumed, and where did it go, what happened to the lead that I made today. That urgency is really important. And of course, as I mentioned, optimizing your acquisition cost and invest in the right source to scale your business is what we should be looking at. Uh, and to achieve this, tracking the numbers is very, very critical. So we will move on to the next slide. One of the most critical parts that I've seen and I have realized in the 12, 13 years of my experience is, what kind of culture do you have as an organization, right? Uh, I have seen organizations expecting their resources to follow a particular process. And if you ask them, what is the process? Is there a document available for that process? They won't be able to give you one. Please make sure, as a business, you expect people to do things that, one, you have already done, you know what needs to be done, and it is put on paper. There is a process around it. You tell me what needs to be done, give it to me in written, only then I'll be able to follow it, right? You expect me to follow a process without letting me know the process is not healthy. Train your people, not just about your product but also about process. Ensure that they understand what is the criticality of a lead lifecycle. Now they will also know, if I were to make a call to somebody, we've taken multiple examples, so like take example of the car showroom. If I were to make a call, it would be a different tone that I'll speak to if I have to get somebody to take a test drive. But once you have taken the test drive, I perhaps may be able to demonstrate more authority on the call if you have taken the test drive already, right? I'll push you to buy. Earlier, I was requesting you to come down and take a test drive. This is how training, product, and milestones, tracking changes your calling script, right? Then reward, definitely recognize high performances and reward them aptly. I've seen this over a period of time, and this is one of my biggest beliefs, that when people are happy, they make really impactful conversations. And when the conversation is impactful, the conversions are great, because you are being your happy self. And as an organization, as an individual, if you are your happy self, of course what you're going to achieve is going to be way, way, way better than what you're going to achieve if you are a stressed out yourself, right? So needs no scientific logic to this. Everybody's aware, but I think in sales pressures and targets and the environment and competition, I think we sort of forget this. But a happy team, happy set of people is very important for you to do great sales or to manage your leads properly, right? Moving on, I I think what I've learned over a period of time, when you don't plant, you don't harvest, right? So leads bring life to any sales organization. You handle them properly, you do really well. You do not handle them properly, there is no business. That's how critical it is. So, summarizing towards the end, managing your leads properly, understand, establish your lead life cycle on the CRM, nurture your leads, follow processes, make your people follow them, and set up SLAs at the right place, right milestone, and the rightly understood SLAs, and build the right culture in your organization. I think these are the critical factors that one should really consider uh, for managing your leads, because eventually it is all money that you're burning to make leads. I think uh, time to take some questions. I hope you guys enjoyed the session, and let me know, Harmeet, please let me know if there are any
Yes.
questions.
Yes, there are a couple of questions. And having said that, you taught me a lot of things, hot leads, cold leads, lead nurturing, lead life cycle. I don't know. These are too many new things. I think the next time I'm going to buy something online, I'm going to be like, my data is my choices, my data, my preferences are being noted. That is how data accumulation is happening, and that is how lead is getting generated. So
Your
next time.
number is priceless for a lot of organizations, so yeah.
Correct, correct. So it's basically it's the fact that if I like black headphones, it's not a matter of coincidence that I can see black headphones on my screen every time I open Facebook, Instagram. It is a planned thing, right?
Yeah.
So this is something absolutely new which I personally have learned. It's okay, we can stop sharing the screen and we can just talk to the audience. Thank you so much. That was a very,
Wonderful.
very interesting session, must say. And the Atta wala example, we've used this in the previous webinar for operations.
I was
And
not there. And
yes, so we had a lovely session with Mr. Vivek Kalia, last week, and he also used this Atta wala example. I think this Atta wala example is something which we should continue. Our audience absolutely is used to it. Moving on, we have a lot of questions. We'll pick 4 to 5 because we're running out of time. Radhesh says, "Is budget or discount a big factor in converting the leads?"
budget, definitely yes. But you need to look at how critical the product that you are giving is. Now, if what you're giving to me, what you're selling is a pen, it's not a life-threatening product. All right, I don't need a pen to be alive. But so budget is like really not important there. But if I really, if it is a medicine that you're making, definitely you're curing a disease. So budget there becomes really, really important in that part. So pricing, strategizing the right pricing as an organization becomes really important. High margins, critical products are always high margin products unless the government intervenes in. So I think yes, it depends on the product that you're selling, and the kind of intent the person has shown. Now if I were to buy a property tomorrow which is worth 1.5 crore, look, so people buy houses, right? If my budget is 1 crore, I will happily invest 1.5 crore if the house is right, if I'm amazed by the property. I'm not going to get amazed by, a pen. I'm not going to spend 5 times the money for a pen that I was supposed to spend, that I had planned to spend. Right. So I think the product changes, and the kind of, category that you are selling defines a lot of things. But yeah, budget is really, really critical unless you have a product for life.
Okay. Having said that, I hope Radhesh, you have got your answer. Our next question is from Dhruv. Dhruv says, "What are some of the best ways to attract and convert leads?" Now, that ये अंदर के राज आपसे जानना चाहते हैं, ध्रुव जी, कि ऐसा क्या
Great
है?
product. There is only one way: make outcomes important. आपके प्रोडक्ट का अगर आउटकम मेजरेबल है, अगर आपके पास टेस्टिमोनियल्स हैं, आपने अचीव किया अपने प्रोडक्ट, जो आप प्रॉमिस करते हो वो आप डिलीवर करते हो, आप वो गेम जीत जाओगे. सनस्टोन promises placement 100% guarantee, and of course we charge students after they are placed. बट अगर हम अपने बैचेस को प्लेस ना करें और इवेंचुअली बच्चे को फ्री में एमबीए मिल जाएगी और वी विल लूज दैट मनी दैट वी हैव इन्वेस्टेड. बट द पॉइंट इज नॉट दैट. द पॉइंट इज कि जैसे जैसे हम वो बच्चों को प्लेस करते जाते हैं, ईयर ऑन ईयर, जब सब बच्चे प्लेस होते हैं, प्रोडक्ट हैज टू बी राइट. बाकी बच्चे आते हैं, सुन के आते हैं, वर्ड ऑफ माउथ वर्क्स. उसके बाद यू डोंट हैव टू इन्वेस्ट. आई एम अहमदाबाद को गूगल कैंपेन नहीं चलाना पड़ता, बिकॉज ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम थिंग्स हैव हैपेंड. द प्रोडक्ट इज ग्रेट, right? So I think focus on your product. I think that's the best way. Focus on the outcome. और अगर मैं एंड यूजर हूं, आपकी लीड हूं, आप अपने आउटकम को मेरी नीड के साथ मैप करिए. मुझे अमिताभ बच्चन की आवाज चाहिए, सो आई डोंट नीड समबडी हु कैन स्पीक 5,000 वॉइसेस. मुझे सिर्फ एक आदमी चाहिए जो एक अमिताभ बच्चन की आवाज निकाल दे. अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज द नीड. आपका प्रोडक्ट सब कुछ कर सकता है, मुझे सब कुछ नहीं चाहिए, मुझे दो चीजें चाहिए. आई विल बाय a product that fits my need. So don't go to the market and promote everything. Don't go to the market and say, मेरा product में A to Z सब कुछ है, इसे ले लो, इसके बाद कुछ नहीं चाहिए. It doesn't work. Because मुझे इसे ले लो नहीं चाहिए, सब कुछ नहीं चाहिए. I have a specific need and I'm going to buy it basis that. So if you promote the right USPs, map it with my requirements, that's how you sell.
One very interesting thing, Mohit, I was coming across, ये जो हम जाते हैं स्टोर्स पे शॉपिंग करने, ग्रोसरीज लेने, वो लोग भी हमसे डेटा, वेरी रिसेंटली आई हैड अ फ्रेंड हु वाज वर्किंग इन रिटेल मैनेजमेंट, एंड ही टोल्ड मी अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग थिंग कि ये जो हम वहां जाके भी डिटेल्स फिल करते हैं, वो भी डेटा अक्यूमुलेशन ही है. दैट इज द सेम थिंग, इट्स जस्ट दैट यहाँ पे ऑनलाइन होता है एंड वहां पे ऑफलाइन होता है. इज इट द सेम थिंग?
Of course. Why do they need your number?
They want to keep spamming ki tomato
They
20
see, some people
20%
spam,
discount.
some people send you meaningful content,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
So there's a difference. If I'm sending meaningful content, you're going to be impressed, you're going to be happy. मैं आपको हर हफ्ते में एक अच्छी वीडियो भेज रहा हूँ, मैं उससे आपको दो नए कॉन्सेप्ट पता चल रहे हैं, तो obviously
जी,
you're going to like it. You look
of
forward.
course.
There are people I have seen in my life कि सर आपका ईमेल आता था हर हफ्ते, इस हफ्ते नहीं आया.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's how
Wow.
nurturing works.
Okay. Coming to the nurturing process, Devashish asks, "Sir, if you can please explain what does nurturing really mean?" If you can please cover this up again for Devashish.
Sure. Devashish, we make a lot of leads. As an organization, I run a campaign. I send people to the ground to make leads. Now, a lot of these people might buy my product today, may be interested immediately, may not be interested immediately. Third categories may not be eligible, right? तीन तरह के ही लोग होते हैं. एक जो आज मेरा प्रोडक्ट खरीदने के लिए तैयार है, दूसरा जिसको नहीं पता उसे खरीदना है कि नहीं है, मन नहीं बनाया, तीसरा जो खरीद ही नहीं, जिसको ये प्रोडक्ट जिंदगी में चाहिए ही नहीं. तो जिसको ये प्रोडक्ट चाहिए ही नहीं, उनको मैं दोबारा बार बार ये नहीं बताना चाहूंगा कि मेरा प्रोडक्ट कैसे अच्छा है. जिनको इमीडिएटली चाहिए उनको मैं बताना चाहूंगा कि देखो ये आपकी लाइफ में प्रॉब्लम है और ऐसे मेरा प्रोडक्ट इसको सॉल्व करता है, आप इसको खरीद लो। बची एक बीच की कैटेगरी, जिनको आज नहीं पता उन्हें मेरा प्रोडक्ट चाहिए, लेकिन मुझे पता है एक दिन इनको जरूरत पड़ेगी। मुझे पता है कि एक बच्चा अगले साल 12th कर लेगा, आज ये 10th में है, 2 साल बाद 12th कर लेगा उसके, और साइंस ले रखी है, इंजीनियरिंग तो करेगा ही करेगा हिंदुस्तान में, राइट। तो मैं आज से उन्हें अपना ब्रांड बनाने की कोशिश करूंगा, ताकि जब वो 2 साल बाद मार्केट में उतरे या 1 साल के बाद मार्केट में उतरे, मेरा नाम देखे तो रिलेट कर पाए। या आज आपको जरूरत नहीं है एक फोन की, और मैं आपसे रीच आउट कर रहा हूं, रेगुलरली कम्युनिकेट कर रहा हूं, किसी दिन आपका फोन टूट जाए, आप क्या करोगे? सबसे पहले यू नीड अ फोन अर्जेंटली। आपके पास अगर मेरा नंबर है, अगर आप ब्रांड बिल्ड मैंने कर रखा है, अगर मैं रेगुलरली आपके साथ कम्युनिकेट कर रहा हूं, आप उठाओगे खटाक से मुझे फोन मिलाओगे, आई नीड योर फोन, राइट? नहीं मिलाओगे, शायद फ्लिपकार्ट पे जाके सर्च करोगे, शायद गूगल पे जाके सर्च करोगे, बट 100 में से 10 तो मिलाएंगे। मैंने 2 साल पहले एक लीड बनाई थी, 2 साल के बाद मैंने उससे रिटर्न लिया, मैंने उसे अपना प्रोडक्ट बेचा। दिस इज द ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑफ लीड नर्चरिंग। 2 ऑब्जेक्टिव्स है, ऑफ कोर्स बिजनेस रेवेन्यू, मैंने जब प्रोडक्ट बेचा मैंने पैसे कमाए। दूसरा, 2 साल तक कॉन्स्टेंटली उनके ब्रेन में मेरा ब्रांड गया कि यार ये अच्छी बातें करते हैं, ये अच्छा कंटेंट भेजते हैं, इनकी कंटेंट मीनिंगफुल है, लुक फॉरवर्ड करते हैं लोग। तो यू आर बिल्डिंग योर ब्रांड, दे कैन गिव यू रेफरेंस टुमारो। मुझे फोन नहीं चाहिए, मेरे दोस्त को चाहिए, मैंने अपने फोन से दिखाया यार ये लोग अच्छा फोन बेच रहे हैं, रोज बात करते हैं, बाय दिस फोन। I might, without even buying, becoming a customer for you, I might get you 5 more customers. So I think nurturing works in different ways, but mota mota, I think conceptually यही है।
वंडरफुल, आई मीन दैट्स वेरी वंडरफुली पुट एक्चुअली। अगर देखा जाए तो हम ऑनलाइन कोई भी एक्टिविटी कर रहे हैं, चाहे वो गाना हो, चाहे वो कपड़े हो, चाहे वो चॉइसेस हो, चाहे वो किसी को गिफ्ट देना हो, कहीं ना कहीं हमारी जो चॉइसेस है, प्रेफरेंसेस हैं, वो डेटा एक्यूमुलेशन में आ जाती हैं। And this is something which is which is absolutely new even to the students now when they are going to research things, and I'm sure the audience will relate, जब वो रिसर्च करेंगे और उनको वापस चीजें दिखेंगी तो उनको समझ में आएगा कि what is this back concept
अब
behind it.
सबको पता लगेगा कि 6 महीने पहले एक फॉर्म भरा था, अभी तक उनकी ईमेल क्यों आती रहती है।
Absolutely. Having said that, Pinky पूछ रही हैं how to approach cold leads and hot leads. How to approach, दोनों का क्या जरिया अलग होता है या दोनों को अप्रोच करने का जरिया सेम रहता है?
Depends on the product again, depends on the kind of services that you are selling, depends on what are your budgets of, how is your marketing aligned. आपके पास 10,000 कोल्ड लीड्स है, अभी बहुत सारे एमबीए इंस्टीट्यूशंस है जिनको मैं जानता हूँ, जो कुछ नहीं करते, बस कैट मैट और जैट का डेटाबेस मार्केट से खरीदते हैं और उनको कॉल करते हैं कि बेटा तुमको एमबीए करनी है हमारे यहाँ के कर लो, या तुमको इंजीनियरिंग करनी है हमारे यहाँ के कर लो, तुमको बीबीए करनी है। लीड्स तो सेम ही है, वही 4 लाख बच्चों ने करनी है 1 साल में, और वो सब देते हैं, जेई का एग्जाम देते हैं इंजीनियरिंग के लिए, तो लीड तो मिल गई आपको। बट आप जब उन्हें कॉल कर रहे हो, इंटेंट मिसिंग है, कनेक्ट मिसिंग है। आप कॉल कर रहे हो, मैं XYZ इंस्टीट्यूट से बोल रही हूँ, एंड सॉर्ट ऑफ, डू यू आर यू लुकिंग फॉर इंजीनियरिंग? अगर मैं देख भी रहूंगा, मैं आपको बोलूंगा नो, आई डोंट नो यू। मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम्स आई वांट टू से नो बिकॉज आई डोंट नो यू, राइट? The best way to approach cold leads is to do a soft communication first. I would love to read an email from you first, that this is who I am. Would you like to know more about my college? If I open your email, मैंने थोड़ा इंटरेस्ट दिखाया है. If I click a banner on your email, मैंने थोड़ा और इंटरेस्ट दिखाया है. If I fill up the form that you had sent to me, मैं आपके लिए पोटेंशियल हूं, राइट? सो फोन उठा के 1,000 कॉल करने से बात नहीं बनती है. what people miss out here is the empathy. एक बंदा एक दिन में 100 कॉल करता है, उसमें से एक बंदा, उसमें से एक लीड कहती है कि हाँ मुझे प्रोडक्ट चाहिए. वी आर ओके, मैं 500 लोग बिठाता हूँ, ऐसी 50,000 लीड कवर करता हूँ. व्हाट आई फॉरगेट इज दैट देयर डे इज स्पेंट इन मिजरी. एक बच्चा जो 100 कॉल करता है, एक एजेंट जो 100 कॉल करता है, उसका पूरा दिन मिजरी में जाता है, राइट? सो एंड and I could have easily reached out to those 1000 people with an email or an SMS and given them a CTA कि यार call कर लो if you're interested. So I think that's how you reach out to cold leads in a way, by not spamming people by calls and emails and SMS. But hot leads, definitely you need to understand, जैसे मैं सेशन में बता रहा था, आपकी माइलस्टोन्स क्या हैं, आपके प्रोडक्ट में वो जो जिसे आपने हॉट लीड बोला है, ऑब्वियसली ऑब्जेक्टिव है कि आप उसको प्रोडक्ट सेल करो, बट अभी नेक्स्ट छोटा ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या है? क्या उसने डेमो ले लिया है? क्या एक एप्लीकेशन फॉर्म भर दिया है? क्या उसने अपना टेस्ट पूरा कर लिया है? क्या उसने टेस्ट ड्राइव ले ली है? राइट? क्या उसने मोबाइल का डेमो ले लिया है? क्या उसने शॉप पे आकर के मोबाइल का वर्जन नंबर और ये सब चेक किया है? क्या उसमें सिम डाल के देखा है? राइट? लुक एट ऑल दीज थिंग्स, ट्रैक माइलस्टोन्स. आई कुड बी हॉट लीड, मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ मैम मुझे करना है, मुझे गाड़ी खरीदनी है, पर मैं हॉट लीड हूँ, आप मुझे हॉट मार्क करोगे, पर कब तक? मैं आपके शोरूम में ही नहीं आ रहा हूँ, मैं नहीं ले रहा हूँ टेस्ट ड्राइव, आप 10 कॉल करती है, मैं एक उठाता हूँ, फिर भी कहता हूँ मैम कल आऊंगा. विल आई बी ए हॉट लीड टुमारो? नो, आई वोंट. सो बाइंग अ कार इज नॉट इंपॉर्टेंट राइट नाउ. वो डेमो के लिए आ जाए, दैट इज इंपॉर्टेंट. ट्रैक माइलस्टोन्स, अंडरस्टैंड कि लीड का करंट डिस्पोजिशन क्या है, उसके बेसिस पे अपना प्लान सेट करें.
एब्सोल्युटली. अगर मुझे समराइज करना हो मोहित, तो मैं कहूंगी कि इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, यू नो, somebody who doesn't did not have that much of knowledge for this concept, I would be like, I mean, to identify your target audience, to make sure that the communication is clear, your product is strong, you highlight your key points, do not give any fake things which your product does not serve, because आप सब कुछ नहीं cover कर सकते at the end
Of
of the day,
course.
just like you said. It's very important for us to identify and to keep going. As you said, 2 साल अगर मैंने उसको ईमेलर भेजा, एसएमएस भेजा, तो वो अच्छा कुछ कंटेंट हो जिससे
I'll correct
एक
you here.
वैल्यूएशन.
मैंने उसको
ओके.
मीनिंगफुल ईमेलर एंड एसएमएस भेजा,
ओके.
स्पैम नहीं किया.
ओके. हमने स्पैम नहीं किया, हमने उसको मीनिंगफुल ईमेल और एसएमएस दिया. अगर वो कोल्ड लीड भी है, अगर उसे अभी आपका सामान नहीं भी खरीदना है, लेकिन 1-2 साल में जब भी उसको खरीदना होगा, आपकी ब्रांड वैल्यू इतनी स्ट्रांग हो गई होगी कि तब तक दैट पर्सन विल गो फॉर योर प्रोडक्ट एंड नॉट दी 100 others in the market,
True.
starting from the need to actually completing and getting the product. That was
True.
very, very, very insightful, Mohit. Honestly speaking, lead nurturing, lead, lead growth, hot leads, cold leads. Oh, I can write an essay on this now. I can actually write, and I'm sure my audience also enjoyed it. But before we end this session, please, if you would like to tell something to the MBA aspirants, and this was the second class of the Sunstone trial class, as I said. So, Mohit, if you would like to say something to the audience before you leave.
See, the times have changed. I think it is time that campuses, universities, colleges take accountability. You end up, I end up spending 2 years of my life in an institute doing a certain program. Like I ended up spending 4 years doing engineering from somewhere, but I don't do engineering today. While I understand engineering, but practical implementation is not there. I think one, mapping yourself to the right course, and when I say course, it is outcome. Mapping yourself, your objective of doing MBA with the right outcome of the program that you're going to choose. अगर मेरा MBA का ऑब्जेक्टिव है ज्ञान लेना, तो मुझे चाहिए मैं एक ऐसे इंस्टीट्यूट में जाऊं जो ज्ञान बांटे और जहां पे सारे ज्ञानी हों. अगर मुझे ऑब्जेक्टिव है कि मुझे अपना करियर सेटअप करना है और यू नो मैं बाकी तो मैं खुद सब कुछ कर लूंगा, बट मेरा करियर सेट हो जाए, सो आप एक ऐसे इंस्टीट्यूट में जाएं जहां पे करियर की गारंटी हो, श्योरिटी हो, अब पुराने आउटकम्स हो जिनसे आप रिलेट कर पाए. आई थिंक स्टूडेंट्स नीड टू चूज वाइजली दीज डेज बिकॉज things are changing, market is changing, job opportunities. छोटा एग्जाम्पल लेते हैं, आई सी अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल, lot of colleges, campuses are not able to place their students. I don't understand how are we able to do that, because we are making students outcome ready, because what we teach is what is being executed in an organization. I think these are the few things that people should keep in mind if they really want to choose their next program, be it MBA or engineering, whatever. मतलब I don't, उसमें मेरा कोई फिक्स व्यू नहीं है, बट Program could be any program, but choose your program wisely. Try to map your objectives with the outcome of the program.
Thank you so much, Mohit. That was Mohit for us, and he is Vice President, Sunstone University. That was so nice of you to take out time and address to our audience and viewers and make this Sunstone trial class episode 2 a success. Thank you so much. And on that note, I would like to again announce, as I announced in the previous webinar, I am so excited to announce Sunstone Scholarship Test with 100 plus scholarships. I repeat, 100 plus scholarships worth lakhs to be won. You can find the link in the pinned comment in the chat window, or after we publish the video, we will put the link in the comment and pin that comment. So please make sure you see that. Also, we are doing another yet interesting live with us from the industry expert. We have Geetika Dang, who will be joining us this Friday. Yes, we're changing the time from Saturday to Friday, but the timings remain the same. The days changed from Saturday to Friday, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. And this is going to be a very interesting talk session on research analysis and consultancy. And I'm sure you should not miss it. So please stay tuned for more. Also, don't forget to follow Sunstone University's social media handles for updates on webinars, amazing videos, and content that can help you build your skills and grow in your career. Thank you for joining us again. We will see you soon with yet another interesting webinar. We have our trial classes every Wednesday and our industry talk sessions going on every Friday. So please don't miss them. Thank you. This is me, Harmeet, signing off. Thank you.